All right, folks, you may know him from Hawaii Five-O. We have a great actor with us. We're going to talk about the new show. It's a TNT show. It's getting ready to start called Murder in the First. And his name is Ian Anthony Dale. How are you, Ian?
I'm great. How you doing, Brandon?
Oh, we're doing great. We're so blessed to have you with us today. And we're going to talk about the show. And, it's a really cool thing. I mean, obviously, with the popularity of Hawaii Five-O, people are already real familiar with you. But now you get to take that and go to yet another big drama. This one, you play the lieutenant, but tell everybody a little bit about the premise on Murder in the First.
Sure, absolutely. So what we're going to do on Murder in the First is we'll take one case and intimately dissect it over the course of a 10-episode season, from the commitment of the crime through the investigation, arrest, and trial. The series will follow homicide detectives Terry English, played by Taye Diggs, and Hildy Mulligan, played by Kathleen Robertson, as they investigate two seemingly unrelated murders, but the mystery deepens, however, when they realize that both murders have common denominator in Silicon Valley tech genius Eric Blunt, played by Tom Felton. So we basically kind of posed the question, what would happen if somebody like Mark Zuckerberg suddenly became embroiled in two simultaneous murder investigations? It would probably be the biggest news story in the world from beginning to end. And so we take an in-depth look at what might happen if that were ever to happen in real life. So I play Lieutenant Jim Cotto. He's this very ambitious young lieutenant for the San Francisco Police Department. He has ambitions to one day be the mayor of San Francisco, and it'll be interesting to watch as the season unfolds. He's this character who straddles the line between cop and politician, and we'll start to see his ambitions get in the way of his judgment, and also disrupt some of his relationships along the way. So it's a cool character and an interesting mystery, and I'm really excited for people to see it. Stephen Bochco is our executive producer. We also have newcomer Eric Lodo, who co-wrote this with Stephen, and they put together something really interesting, and like I said, I'm really excited for people to see it.
It's a fascinating concept, and you talk about the high-profile case concept here, where we've only really seen this in sort of the age of the internet and the age of the new media. I think with the OJ situation, we've had a couple since then, but nothing that transcended something as big as what you're proposing, of having someone of that caliber be high-profile, right. and to have such a great actor like Tom Felton come aboard is really such an attribute to the story that you must have put together.
Absolutely. Tom has been amazing. I've seen the first 3 episodes, and he's got this intensity that is electrifying. And any scene that he's in, it's just, he jumps off of the screen. And, it's a different type of villain. We think of like super wealthy, super influential villains usually come in the form of rich, older people. But this guy, he's just barely an adult, and he's got all this power and all this influence, and it's interesting to see how his youth and arrogance affect him throughout this trial. But Tom does a fantastic job with this role, and I think people are going to really enjoy it.
Now, something like this where you're putting together, a whole season story, almost like we grew up in the age of the miniseries, is something that's just, it's a very long, thematic process. Compare that to what it's been like compared to working like, Hawaii Five-O, where you've got these little, spontaneous things. We get constant sort of introduction and closure of different storylines and plot points. It's a completely different approach.
It's a completely different approach. My storyline on Hawaii Five-O is unique in the sense that it's kind of an ongoing serialized side story. So my experience on that show, has been similar to that on Murder in the First. it's not neatly tied up in a bow at the end of every episode. There's a lot of to be continued with my character on 5-0, and so. But I understand what you're saying. It's much different from your typical procedural where, in the first act you have you come upon the murder, and then in the final act you put away the prime suspect. And what we're doing, telling this mystery over the course of 10 episodes, it's much more realistic to the way real investigations happen. My brother is a homicide detective for the Minneapolis Police Department, and never have I spoken to him, and he's told me that they've come upon a murder scene and then apprehended the suspect and had a trial and put him in jail by the end of the day. That just never happens.
Of course not. No.
Things take weeks, they take months, sometimes they take years, and so our show will give people a little bit more accurate or realistic representation of what a real homicide investigation is like.
Tell everybody a little bit about what it's like working with Diggs and Robertson. I mean, they come with their own resume of chops here, so this is just a great cast to work with.
It's a really wonderful cast. We also have James Cromwell in the cast. I mean,
he's fantastic.
Aura about him. Oh, he's so fantastic. I mean, and he's so polished and such a professional. But I had the good fortune of working with Tay on a series called Daybreak a number of years ago, and so it was a reunion of sorts for us. And we have such a fun time on set. We're always cracking each other up. He's such a practical joker. I don't know if many people know this because he tends to play such serious characters, but he's a lot of fun. We're always laughing. And then Kathleen, I remember watching her on Boss, on the show Boss on the Stars Network, and just being kind of mesmerized. And so when I found out she was playing Hildy, and then when I got a chance to work with her, there were a couple moments where I'd be in a scene with her and I'd end up becoming a spectator because of what she was doing was so electric. And so, it's a set made up of really wonderful actors and wonderful people, and it was just a really pleasurable working experience throughout the season 1.
Let's switch gears a little bit. We have a ton of 5-0 fans, and believe it or not, of all the people in my family and in our little network, it's actually my mother-in-law is the one that's most hooked, by the way. Just so we're clear, you guys have gone over a few. Now, Mom's not the typical senior, but she is just a rabid fan of 5-0. This would be best to hand the phone over to her and let her actually face the interview, because she knows your show. She knows your show inside and out. It's actually amazing. And what a great show to be a part of and continue a legacy. Obviously we have the Dallas reboot as well on TNT, and we have some stuff where we can take things that already have a huge fan base and repackage and rebrand it in a way that draws in newer viewers. So my first question, I guess, Ian, is who do you hear from the most? You hear from older fans or the newer fans?
It's a little bit of both. Hawaii 5-0 is such a global success. I mean, it does so well internationally that I have people contacting me via Twitter from all over the world. And I would have to say that of everything I've ever done in my career, Hawaii 5-0 has certainly given me the most visibility. And it's been such a wonderful experience. I mean, we have a thing in Hawaii, they refer to family as ohana, and we talk about, we in the cast and the crew of Hawaii 5-0 talk about our Hawaii 5-0 ohana, and that ohana extends into all over the country and all over the world. Whoever is a fan and a supporter of the show, they're part of that Hawaii 5-0 ohana, and it's just a wonderful feeling. And there's a lot of love there, and there's a lot of appreciation, and like you said, it's really been special to be a part of it. It's exciting that they were able to reboot it, and they're about to go on their 5th season, and any show that makes it to 5 seasons, I mean that is such an accomplishment in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean the goal is for folks, if you don't know how this works, I mean, the networks are doing backflips when they can get to 3 to 4. That's where the goal is, because they get the syndication 4, and so now we're beyond that. So it really shows an incredible commitment by CBS in this cast and in the incredible writing that they've done to take something that, let's face it, a lot of people we're skeptical. We're old timers. Some of us are like, hey, listen, Jack Lord was special. You can't mess with that. And then you get into it and you realize you're just as hooked as you were, 30 years ago or 25 years ago. So it really is a tribute to just, a great team of creators and you guys in front of the camera bringing it to life.
Absolutely, and another aspect that is so attractive is the character of Hawaii. I mean, it is so beautiful, and every time they do one of those kind of little transition flashes of the coastline in Waikiki or a sunset. I mean, I imagine the tourism has increased immensely since that show has been on the air, and that show has been doing well. It's really such a great advertisement for the state of Hawaii.
And it doesn't hurt that you get to be there filming, at least,
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's what a great gig.
Oh my God! It's the greatest gig. You get to travel to paradise and work a few days and play a few more and then come back home. But it's been a delight and a privilege, and I just I've been really fortunate with that job.
Well, I'm going to have to correct you, because the only greater gig when it comes to that is the people that got to work with Peter Jackson and travel to New Zealand and all these locations.
Oh.
My gosh, what have you ever sat down and actually watched these behind the scenes footage, these helicopter shots, whatever? I'm like, that's not right, man. That is just not right. If Hollywood privileges weren't enough, you guys get to do that too. That's just incredible. Incredible.
What would be tough though is didn't those actors have to go to New Zealand for almost 3 years of their life?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot of that, but they get their weeks off in between and things like that. It was a big commitment to be there for 16 months or the bulk of, let's say 12 to 16 months in a row and things like that. But I don't know, you can twist my arm into that any day of the week. I mean, looking pretty good.
Listen, don't get me wrong. I would jump at the opportunity to work for somebody like Peter Jackson. Travel to some places beautiful in New Zealand. I mean, come on, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, breathtaking. I'm sorry, I was just mesmerized in my own little thought process there. So, let me. What is it like? Give folks. Let's pull the curtain back again and discuss the difference of working on these two shows. Obviously, Hawaii Five-0. Like you said, season 5. You've got this whole completely different 10 episode serialized approach that we're going to see in Murder in the First. Compare that to what it's like as an actor compared to doing the one-offs. You have a whole bunch of things. You're Mentalist, you're on Criminal Minds, you had a couple episodes, 24, those kinds of things. Yeah. How is it different compared to as a performer to be able to be so immersed as you are in these other two shows? Well, that's just it. That's the difference. You actually get when you have a recurring character or you're doing a series regular character, you really get to invest and immerse into the life and world of this person, and you get to do more research, and you get to learn more things. You get to have different experiences, and you really get to embody the character so much more completely than when you do the one-offs. And you also are able to have the time to develop these really important, rich relationships, and I've certainly got a chance to do that on both Hawaii Five-0 and Murder in the First. I mean, anytime you get to recur, it's just you just get to invest deeper, and I've been lucky that I've been able to do that on these two shows, and it's important. I think it's absolutely necessary too, because you got to find a way to keep the character real and interesting. And that can only come with doing your preparation and doing your homework and staying interested in the character yourself. If you're interested in what you're doing, people will be interested in you. And that's what I believe, and that's what I try to remember.
That's good stuff. That's very good stuff. I'm not keeping you from something else yet, right? I can go a little bit further.
Yeah, we can go a little bit further. It's fine. Yeah.
Hey, you have one of the most unique attributes on your biography that they sent over to us, and I have it circled. I have it underlined several times. I don't think I've ever run across this in all the interviews that I've ever done, and all of the hobbies and all of the different things. Only Ian Anthony Dale enjoys building custom furniture.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I want to know how on earth. First off, what does that mean in the life of Ian Anthony Dale, and then how on earth did you fall into that?
When I was younger, I used to skateboard, and my father, had a garage full of tools that he showed me how to use when I was very young, and him and I would build, ramps, and we built a half pipe in my backyard when I was very young. So I got to learn how to use tools through working with my father, and then I just when I moved to Los Angeles back in 2000, I worked for 2 years. Many people don't know this, but I worked for 2 years as a set builder, building sets for film and television. And so I was able to learn or sharpen my skills when it comes to carpentry, working with a lot of these really great veteran carpenters out here. And then, once I started working as an actor, I had already amassed my tool collection, and I working with wood is something I knew that I really enjoyed. So I just decided to start building furniture for myself, and then, for my friends, and occasionally someone will commission me to do a project. But now I just do it as a labor of love to fill the time in between jobs. Unfortunately, I haven't had a whole lot of time to do it in the last few years, but it is the number one way for me to feel fueled creatively and to not worry about where my next job might come or when it might come, and it makes me happy. I've often said that I would be just as happy making a living as a carpenter as I would as an actor. There's just something about the tactile nature of taking a piece of wood and turning it into something that you can appreciate for its aesthetic beauty, and enhancing, being able to bring out the beauty of wood, like the grains, working with different exotic woods and different grain patterns, and just trying to make beautiful things. I mean, I love it. I absolutely love it. In fact, I just bought my first house, and I'm redesigning the interior, and I've got a number of custom projects planned. So, I imagine I will be pretty busy with projects over the course of the next several months.
Well, we'll have to get that update the next time we call and hear from you, because I feel confident that's what we'll be doing. And folks, you need to make sure that you've got your DVR set if you have plans on Monday night, because Monday at 10 o'clock is the premiere of Murder in the First. And this series just sounds phenomenal, and especially for you fans that are already lovers of crime drama and some different murder mystery type stuff. This is a great, great concept and an amazing cast. And Ian Anthony Dale is joined by Taye Diggs, Kathleen Robertson, Tom Felton. Talked about just the show, its general, and some different things that are going on before Hawaii Five-0 hits season 5. So make sure you're planning to catch that. And Ian, until we can talk again, my friend, take care and God bless.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure talking to you.
All right, bye-bye. Thank you, Ian, again so much for fitting us in and talking so long.
Oh, thanks, Brandon. I appreciate it. I had a good time. You have a great weekend.
You too. Take care.